Welcome to another video on project planning. This video will explain what a Gantt chart is and how it is used in project planning. To further enhance your understanding on how this tool is used when planning a project, we will also use a simple example to illustrate how to use a Gantt chart when scheduling a project. This is a quick highlight of what will be covered in this video, so without further ado, let's get into it. First, a little background on Gantt charts. Gantt chart is probably the most widely used project planning tool, especially for project time management or scheduling. Around the same time when the Gantt chart was developed, a similar tool was developed first by Karol Adamczyk, which he called a harmonograph. He developed this tool to solve the problem of sequencing and scheduling in steel production. However, the more widely known tool was the chart developed by Henry Gantt, an engineer and a project manager who went on to devise his own version of the chart. His own version eventually became the more popular version in Europe, then around the world as the preferred tool for tracking project schedules. For this video, we will focus on how Henry's version of the chart is used in scheduling projects. So what is a Gantt chart? Put simply, a Gantt chart, alternatively called a bar chart, is a project plan where tasks are represented by bars. These bars are then depicted on a time schedule that covers the life cycle of the project. According to Gantt's rule of developing a Gantt chart, all activities and tasks involved in a project are listed vertically. These tasks are usually a product of the work breakdown structure, where the entire project is broken down into small, easy-to-manage tasks that cumulates into the entire project. After completing the work breakdown structure and listing them vertically, corresponding time or duration for each of these tasks are depicted horizontally. On the horizontal axis, equal units of distance on the horizontal axis is equal to the units of time it represents. This could be in hours, days, months, or years. On the horizontal axis representing time, each activities within the project are illustrated using a bar. The width of the bar on the time axis represents the duration of the task. The longer the bar, the longer it takes to complete the task, and the shorter the bar, the lesser the time it takes to complete the task. There is also something we call the task schedule. This is depicted by the positioning of the bars on the Gantt chart. Bars can be positioned in sequence where each bar representing an activity follows another. In this case, each of the tasks is dependent on the completion of the preceding task. In this case, before task B begins, task A must be completed. In other words, task A is the predecessor to task B. There are also tasks that occur in parallel to other tasks or activities. For example, here, task B and task E are occurring in parallel, which means that both tasks can be completed at the same time, and it is not necessary that both tasks have the same preceding task. All tasks and activities are aimed towards achieving milestones in the project. Milestones could be represented by different symbols in a Gantt charts. Milestones are points or key events within the project journey where achievements have been made, or the points where important decisions are made. While developing a Gantt chart, it is important that key points or milestones are identified. And it is also important to define how these milestones relate to completing the project, and how the milestones relate to other milestones. It is imperative not to forget the more important step and the main purpose of the Gantt chart, which is the assigning of dates to each milestone. Determining milestones is usually the starting point for project managers. After deciding the project milestones, tasks are allocated to each milestone. This task is usually more visually detailed in the work breakdown structure. Please look forward to our future videos on project work breakdown structure. After drawing your Gantt chart, it is very important that you include a key or a legend that explains all the symbols and colors you have used on the Gantt chart. This will make it easier for those not involved in the developing of the Gantt chart understand it. Now, let's consider a quick and simple example of how to draw a Gantt chart using this table. A table like this is usually extracted from a work breakdown structure. The table shows the project activities or tasks and the tasks that precedes. For each of the tasks, the maximum time or duration for each task is also depicted. The yellow shaded part of the table indicates a milestone. To plan or schedule the project activities, it is important to label the axis of the Gantt chart. We know that the time schedule will span across horizontally, and this will be in days as depicted on the table. As for the activities, these are depicted vertically. As we have 4 activities, that is, activities A to D, we shall list these like so. For activity A, we know that this represents the beginning of the project and has no preceding activity. This will be our starting point on the Gantt chart. We also know that activity A takes 3 days to complete. We now need to show this on the chart using a bar that spans across 3 days like so. For activity B, we know the preceding activity is A. Activity B takes 5 days to complete. Starting from where A ends, we draw our bar chart spanning the next 5 days. As it was with activity A and B, we notice that activity B is the predecessor for activity C, while activity C takes 2 days to complete. So, we draw our bar to span across 2 days. Notice that activity C is an important milestone. At this point, we can use any symbol to depict this milestone. In this example, we will use a diamond. From the beginning of the project till this point, it will take 10 days before the first milestone is achieved. Once the milestone is achieved, we then move to the next task, which is activity D. We know the preceding task for D is C, and it takes 3 days to complete. So, we draw our bar from C to span across the next 3 days, and so on and so forth. This is how we use a Gantt chart when planning and scheduling a project. Although we have illustrated this by hand, and doing this will be laborious for more complicated projects. It is worth noting that there are sophisticated software designed specifically for this, and you should consider familiarizing yourself with how to use them. So, do you have an ongoing project? This could be a dissertation, a school assignment, and perhaps something more complex as developing a business plan. Why not consider using a Gantt chart to plan your project? There are 3 things you need to consider. 1. Set milestones for the project. 2. Identify the activities that needs to be completed under each milestone. 3. Determine the duration for each milestone and its activities. And 4. Draw your Gantt chart. We hope you have found this video useful, and hopefully you have gained a basic understanding of what we mean by a Gantt chart and how it is used in project planning. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like our videos and subscribe. Kindly look forward to our future videos. That will be all for now. See you in the next one.